Today we're going to talk about aftermarket car stereo installation and deal directly today with the wire harnesses that come with your car stereo that you purchase. We have several harnesses here. The connectors on these are all different and fit to different radios depending on who the manufacturer is and so on, but these connectors all will mate to the aftermarket car stereos. These connectors are all different, but they do have one thing in common. What they do have in common is usually one yellow wire, which is a constant power to the radio, a black wire, which is ground, a red wire, which is your switched power through ignition, and normally they can have several other wires, normally two whites. Whites will be your left front, one will have a stripe, which will be a negative. You have your two grays here, one with a stripe also, and these will be your right front speakers. You have two greens, one with a black stripe for negative, which will be your left rear, and two violets or purple, one with a black stripe as well, which will be negative. This is for your final speaker on the right rear. There may be several blue wires, one for antenna control, one for amplifier control. There may be some with orange wires as well. The orange wires deal with illumination. And sometimes, depending on the features you have on your vehicle, there may be several other wires for hooking to the parking switch so that you can watch video while the car is parked. Now, as for the aftermarket wire harness, the reason why that is so important is because it also has the universal colors. But we're going to show you how to connect these wires up as well. We have several butt connectors here. These come in several colors and sizes depending on size of the wire that you have. We have seen wire nuts used, which are not some of the best products used for car stereo. And we've also seen what's known as a Scotch lock. And what this does is it pinches the wires and goes down and splices them, and then it comes together and locks together. This was a very common way of putting wires together, but it's also a very troublesome. But we've connected several stereos up here. The best way to connect a stereo is to locate some heat shrink and put it down over your wire. And if you make the wire thin enough to fit through the heat shrink will come down. You'll take your second wire as well and wrap these two together, and with them wrapped together you will take your soldering iron and solder these two wires together, and the solder will hold these together, but you have to protect them. We've seen many different things when it comes to protecting these wires, but we're going to solder these two wires together now. And with these two wires soldered together, you place the heat shrink back over the connection and take your lighter, and the heat causes the heat shrink, the reason why it's called heat shrink, to shrink down and mate to the wires and not move any longer. We've also have several other ways of going about installing the aftermarket stereos. What we have here are the butt connectors, again several different sizes. We've used a blue one here. The blue one here, as you can see, takes two separate crimps to hold these wires together, and the single white snow cap or crimp cap has both wires going into it with one crimp on it. Now this is a good connector as well, but sometimes you can pull these apart, and troubleshooting two connections in a wire line is sometimes difficult if you're having a problem. But you have two wires in one connection, we prefer this. But there are problems with this crimp cap. When you do the soldering and heat shrink, it makes for a much nicer looking wire connector for the entire wire harness. Crimp caps, using the crimp caps and you get all your wires together, it seems to make a bigger bundle and can cause some problems when putting this back into the dash and having enough room for these to fit. But we like this connector better. We just fight with getting it back into the dash on occasion. See our website for your specific vehicle's wire harness, and if this video has been helpful, please subscribe, and thank you for watching.